All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Palmer, the Executive Director for the Travel and Tourism Research Association. Welcome to today's webinar, Huge Target, Small Budget, presented by our TTRA partner, Arrivalist. TTRA unites university academics, professional practitioners, and research experts, the best and brightest from the travel and research community. If you're not a member, I encourage you to join us. You can learn more at TTRA.com. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit the TTRA website for information about upcoming webinars and conferences. Follow Richmond on his journey in beginning to use geolocation logic data to break out of broad-based state or DMA-based marketing. Find out how they're getting far more granular, both in understanding hidden opportunities across their top 5 origin markets and granular in targeting only the zip codes that send visitors who will stay in Richmond hotels for 2 days or more, not just those passing through on the highway who stay for 1 night. A deep dive in the data of Richmond's entire overnight economy will make it plain how any DMO can find the same hidden origin market value and use the same strategy to extend the value of its marketing spend. I want to remind everyone we're using the Zoom webinar platform, so please drop your questions in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to as many as we can by the end of the session. I would now like to introduce today's speakers, Jason Fulvey and Cree Lawson from Arrivalist.
Hi, everyone. I've just enabled screen sharing, so please let me know if you cannot see my screen. Very excited to be a part of another TTRA webinar. Can't say enough good things about how much this organization brings to the industry and how proud we are to work with TTRA. Today, we have some really new insights about a product that if you've heard me talk about Arrivalist, you've probably heard me say the word lodging in every 3rd sentence over the last 3 years. A bit of an obsession we have with this new product. And so today isn't about that product. It's about how Richmond is taking action based on that product. So this product has emerged really from a concept to a reality. And there are big decisions being made based on this data. And we're going to tell you how Richmond can do that. But first, I thought I always like to kick it off with a little bit of a head scratcher, get everybody's minds working, get everybody thinking. And so I want to throw this out there. I'm going to throw out a challenge about Richmond. Now, as long as anybody's been keeping track, Washington, D.C. has been the Richmond region's. We're going to talk more about what it means to be a region, has been the region's top origin market for as long as anybody can remember. And that is when a visitor goes to Richmond. So in the cases where a user spends more time in Richmond on their trip than anywhere else on the trip, the top origin market is Washington, D.C. However, when we look at people who go through Richmond, when Richmond is not the longest stop on their trip, some other place has a longer duration of stay on that itinerary. When people are going through Richmond, there's a different top origin market. What is that? So at about slide 8, we're going to answer that question. So we'll ask for you to put your responses in the chat once we get to slide 8. That'll be kind of halftime here. And why does this even matter? So interesting story. We were in a situation where Topeka was running 2 location data companies. Administrative mistake, something. We were one of the 2 of them. Running 2 location data companies at the same time. And we had been telling them for years that, hey, Kansas City is your top origin market. It's 2.2 million population. It's about 60, 70 miles from city center to city center. So they've got the agency there has access to 2 location data sets. They log in and new location data set tells them, whoa, there's a different top origin market. It's actually Wichita, Kansas, 120 miles away with 1 million population. So they start thinking, oh, wow, this is interesting. These people are coming further, staying longer. We got a new top origin market. Like, how often does that happen? Or is it the data? And how could 2 data sets give 2 different answers on what is your #1 origin market? Well, we looked into our data to find the answer. And when it turns out that Wichita is number one for people passing through Topeka. In fact, if you're going north on 35 to pretty much anywhere, Chicago, et cetera, all the places to all points north, you're going through Topeka. So Wichita was number one for visitors going through Topeka. But of course, Kansas City was by far the number one market for people going to the destination, to spending the majority of their trip time in Topeka. All this is to say that it matters. And so that's just a quick little story. Again, slide 8, we'll go back into this. I just have one more slide, and then I'm going to let Jason tell the story of Richmond. I just want to remind you just one slide on what lodging is. Lodging is your view of the total overnight economy. Why? How can we do that? Well, because phones stay overnight everywhere. Phones stay overnight in hotels. Phones stay overnight in vacation rentals. Phones stay overnight when you sleep in Aunt Betsy's big basement, or you stay with friends and relatives, as the term goes. So, using this, we can see movement to all forms of overnight stays, and that's giving us unique new insights to the overall market. That's giving us unique insights into whether vacation rentals are gaining share or hotels are gaining share. But what we're going to focus on today, and we've received a lot of coverage, a lot of interest in visiting friends and relatives, because we're now able to measure that, and that's yielding some really interesting insights. But today's focus is how do we use this to explore emerging revenue opportunities. And Richmond is in a really unique position to do this because Richmond just started their T bid. So they have, I'll let Jason talk more about that, but just a reminder, this is all this data that you're going to see today is coming from Arrivalist Lodging, which views the total overnight economy. Now over to Jason to tell the story of Richmond.
Thank you, Cree. Let me now share my screen. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Fulvey. I'm the Chief Sales Officer for Arrivalist. Spent about 22 years in the DMO space, most recently the CEO and president of Visit KC. Prior to that, 18 years with Visit Pittsburgh. But today we're going to talk about how our lodging analytics are helping Richmond uncover hidden value in their top origin markets. So Richmond, like many other destinations, has a number of stakeholders, and they actually represent 4 different counties, 2 different cities, and 1 town. So it's more of a region, as Cree mentioned earlier. Additionally, they'll have a new revenue source from their TID, their Tourism Improvement District, which will have oversight from representation from their hotel community. So with that will come additional pressure to look for emerging markets and build on weekday business. So as our team started digging into Richmond's data, we saw that DC has been and always will be a very important origin market for Visit Richmond. But we also saw that destinations like Philly and New York had a higher revenue per arrival than DC. And because we were able to get granular down to the zip code level, it provides their team with the intelligence to target a very specific visitor. Additionally, by using points of interest, they're able to go deeper and cross-promote better. For example, they identified their big cheerleading group never went to Short Pump, which is Richmond's very big shopping destination. And if you know anything about girls' sporting events like cheerleading, you know that they travel with mom and dad and brother, sister, grandma, grandpa. They bring everybody. And the number one thing they like to do, you guessed it, shopping. And they were really missing an opportunity there. So this intel was very important as they began to develop their campaigns that are funded by their new revenue source. So Visit Richmond's TID will cover all 7 locations and be a dedicated new funding source with a focus on supporting their hotels. It will essentially double their current budget. Over the past 20 years, the lion's share of their marketing efforts have been concentrated on DC, as they intrinsically know that that was their number one origin market. And their budgets up to this point really couldn't afford them the luxury to expand their reach. So with the Arrivalist data, they began to get a little bit more granular, and they identified additional need times so they could further assist their hoteliers. So Richmond's hotel stakeholders were asking for support with increased midweek stays. But we also wanted to drill in on those 2 to 3 to 4+ night stays. We wanted those people who were coming to Richmond, not people passing through, like Cree was talking about. So to, not through. And that's something that Arrivalist lets you see in our data. So we're going to leverage that. So let's take that halftime break. And Cree, can you give us the answer to who the number one origin market is?
Yeah, so let me grab the screen share here. I was just looking at cross visitation from Short Pump Town Center to the River City Sportsplex in Richmond. So I was just kind of toying around with that. Right now, I am in Arrivalist point of interest portal. And I'm looking at data from Richmond, and there's a pretty interesting toggle up here that most people overlook. And that is across, this is POI Center, and you can see visits to all these points of interest and top origin markets. But there's a little filter up here that a lot of people miss. And right now I've selected primary destination as Richmond, Virginia. Now, if I select other, if the primary destination is other, then you can see the profile of visitor changes. We go from 10 million visitors to 2.5 million visitors. So more people going to than going through, which is good. When we switch it to people going through Richmond, we see the average nights in markets drop to 1.7. It's over 1. So average visitor through is staying the night, which is great. But I think the most interesting change is that when visitors go to Richmond, the top origin markets, DC, followed by Norfolk, followed by Roanoke, followed by New York. But when we toggle this over to the visitors going through Richmond, New York is your top origin market. So that's a complete flippening from what we were seeing before. So for if any of you guessed New York was your top origin market for people passing through Richmond, you got it right. So that's the answer to the question. I'll let you, Jason, I'll turn it over to you for the rest of the story.
Great. Thank you, Cree. Okay, so let's get back to the story of Richmond and how they're using our intelligence to take a little deeper dive. So, but for clarification, I want to be, we'll be looking at a lodging statistic that reflects the entire overnight economy and the total overnight market in Richmond. And the one key Arrivalist metric is called revenue per arrival, RPA. And this is derived from taking occupancy data from our panel of mobile devices and multiplying it by the destination's ADR data, giving hotel revenue per arrival. So very simply, it's occupancy from mobile devices multiplied by the destination's ADR, and it gives you hotel revenue per arrival. And that's very important as we work through this.
Yeah.
So the primary...
Jason, can I jump
Yes.
in real quick? I know the last thing the world needs is another metric, but just so revenue per arrival is kind of like, RevPAR for hotels, except it's designed for a destination. Whether a user stays in a vacation rental or a hotel or VFR, we calculate the revenue per arrival. That's if they're spending $150 ADR and they're staying 2 nights, then the revenue per arrival is $300. So just to clarify that formula, because it's important, and you'll see it represented here. It's length of stay times daily rate equals revenue per arrival, and that's one metric you can value a visitor from, no matter where they stay, whether they stay in a vacation rental or whether they stay in a hotel. Just thought I'd jump in with that. Go ahead, Jason.
Thanks, Cree. So the primary needed time for increasing hotel stays is midweek. That's what they heard from their hoteliers, and that's what the data is showing you here. This chart shows total revenue by day of week for 2022, only for those 2, 3, 4+ night stays. And you can see that that data confirms that what the stakeholders were telling them, that the midweek stays are soft. What's new with Arrivalist lodging is the ability to see the seasonality patterns of it. You can see where spring and summer are strong, and even November in the fall. And that really reflects the strong convention, sports tournament travel period for Visit Richmond and lodging stays during those periods. But there's a fall trough and a really big winter valley highlighted here. So those are the two areas Visit Richmond may want to look at bolstering. So how can we help our clients like Visit Richmond develop strategies for their need times? Well, the whole point of this webinar is really to show you that there's a hidden value in your origin markets beyond your number one market. And before we're done, I'm going to pull this little guy out of a hat. We're going to drill in on the magic here. So starting by exploring the home state of Visit Richmond, Virginia, for 2 to 4 night stays in 2022. People from more than 50 miles away delivered $40 million in revenue. That's over 4 times more than second place North Carolina and third place New York. And remember, we talked about Philly, but look where PA is on the ranking. If we drill in on the home DMA of people who stayed the 2 or 4 nights in 2022, staying in midweek only, we can see that Washington, D.C., Norfolk, Roanoke, Lynchburg are at the top of this list. New York is a distant 4th and Philly 6th. So this is going to be a major shift for Richmond, which, as we've said before, has mainly targeted DC. But now that they have those additional resources, we're recommending that they target their top 3 DMAs. And you might be asking, well, why not just include New York? They're in 4th place, right? Why not include them as well? But you can see here that if the goal is to target those midweek stays, the revenue volume and number of midweek stays would make New York a real stretch as a marketing target. We'd already identified that New York and Philly stays generated a higher revenue per arrival than DC, but they're really not helping that target of those midweek stays. These are the hotel revenue per arrival numbers and average night stays for midweek arrivals for the 3 top DMAs we're recommending. And I want to stop here and really emphasize that, like a lot of you, Richmond has been allocating the lion's share of their marketing efforts on one origin market, DC, for a long time. So just suggesting a relocation was a big change for them, and due to their previous budget restrictions, didn't make much sense. Now that they have that new funding stream, they can explore expanded origin markets, and the magic we're going to pull out of our hat will make this possible. So now we're going to reveal the real magic trick here and pull the rabbit out of our hat, which is how we can expand Visit Richmond's reach and work within their budget. So we're going to help them do that by pulling the zip code data that allows them to show them which of the zip codes for each of the 3 origin market targets are most likely to stay midweek, generate the most revenue, and the most revenue per arrival. The revenue per arrival numbers really dictates how efficient that zip code will be. So we'll sort every zip code in the 3 DMAs and come up with a list that won't be any longer than all of the Washington, D.C. zip codes. So same money, much more effective at increasing 2 to 4 night midweek hotel stays. And this is something that hasn't been possible before. And it's an entirely new way of understanding origin markets. What zip codes are producing the overnight stay? Essentially, we're showing them to fish where the fish are. So now that we have identified the targets, what's next? Well, now that we've identified those expanded targets, Richmond will be implementing new campaigns and using Arrivalist attribution to understand the media efficiencies of those campaigns while continuing to monitor their own markets for any changes. Beyond this, we've also recommended a seasonal strategy. Here are Richmond's numbers by season, which reinforces the needed times we showed earlier. People who come each season are different types of travelers. Lastly, we're going to add 3 new categories of points of interest to Richmond's account. By adding in visits to top businesses, it will provide some important insights for midweek stays because we suspect a lot of these stays are business travelers. We expect that there will be a number of gems that will spill out, having this deeper look at their market.
All right. Well, thanks.
Bree, I'll
Jay.
stop sharing. I think you had a few other things that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I do. And wanted to, I feel like we spent the whole time talking about the thing, but not showing the thing itself. So I thought I'd show Richmond's lodging so that we can get a sense of exactly what we're talking about here, so that you can see some of this stuff come to life. So this is what we're talking about: revenue per arrival. Now, this is not adjusted for any origin market right now, but they're able to come in and see, and as many of our clients are seeing, is just that vacation rentals have a greater revenue per arrival. And you can see the average revenue per arrival for a hotel, and in the overall market, which is a blending of these two, a weighted average between these two. So what does this mean for every visitor to Richmond? They can count on $217 in overnight revenue, whether it's a vacation rental or a hotel. If they stay at a vacation rental, you're looking at $399. $399. What's driving that? Why is the vacation rental revenue per arrival so much higher? It's a length of stay. Maybe it's a minimum stay requirement, something like that. But vacation rental visitors stay on average 2.3 nights. Jason's telling the story of the visitors for the sports tournament. When you bring the wife and family, kids, do you stay with relatives, or do you stay in hotels, or do you stay in vacation rentals? There's a strong argument to be made for all of those. But I think what really stood out is that Richmond's under ginormous pressure. They've gone from $7.5 million in total budget to $15 million total budget. All that comes from a 2% hike, 2% assessment on the hotels in the region. And correct me if I got any of this wrong, Jason. But now doubling the budget, at least twice the pressure. Furthermore, any marketing spending has to be, I believe, approved by hoteliers.
That's correct.
So now you've got that 15 million, you've got twice the budget. Well, I would argue four times the strings attached. So now normally what you would do is just run attribution and arrears, where you'd say you do a lift report after the program, and it's going to be great to show ROI. But the quickest way to this is a different perspective. This tells you where the marketing efficiencies are before you spend a dime. Where are you going to find that efficiency? Who's going to be the best and easiest to target? So what stood out to me was Richmond's need for those midweek visitors. So in order to get that kind of insight, we just go in and select Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There's your midweek visitors. And now we know our top origin markets. We know which classes they stay in. We know the trending. We know the top origin markets for people who stayed on those days. So I'm going to go in and deselect these so that we get back to the other market. One of the questions that we get a lot is, why zip codes, right? So why are we going to zip codes? We wanted to keep it simple and go back to the future. Everybody knows there's challenges with cookies. Everybody knows there's challenges with mobile ad IDs. Our idea was that zip codes allow you to micro-target those super high value visitors without having to pay for an expensive DMP, without having to pay for expensive programmatic infrastructure. And further, if you got zip codes, you're not limited to online media. In fact, we have a hotel that is using this data to target, get this, remember this, direct mail. You can use this for direct mail if you want. If you want to play an out of home, you can target that way. If you want to play in connected TV buys, you can target all of that by origin market zip codes. So Jason talked about Richmond's exploring Philadelphia as an origin market. What does that look like? Well, on a zip code level, here are the top zip codes. And you can see the revenue per arrival for all these, as well as the total revenue represented by all of these different zip codes. And you might be thinking, you'd be right to ask, hey, look, does it really matter between vacation rentals and hotels? Don't they all come from the same places? Well, quick toggle away says, no, these are the top origin markets for vacation rentals. And here, look at some of these. Reading, Pennsylvania, $1,000 revenue per arrival. And not just a little revenue, 100,000 in revenue from that one zip code, right? So these are now you can go in and target your markets. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, okay, I'm going to target something like New York, right? I don't have enough money to cover New York. I don't have enough money to get enough reach in New York. But if I just pick the top origin market zip codes for the New York DMA, now it's no longer spray and pray. You've got a micro-targeted campaign just targeting those most qualified users in New York. And so that's how Richmond and others might be putting these insights into action for them. Any follow-up? Also, one other key point. Richmond has a lot of regions, a lot of people to serve. We can break down where they stayed by origin market, by their destination zip code. So if you want to roll up all your hotels in one area, call it Midtown. You want to roll up all your hotels. A lot of our states are rolling this up by county. These zip codes can be rolled up by county. But this is any additional thoughts on this, Jason, as it relates to Richmond?
No, I think we covered it. I don't know if our hosts have been monitoring the questions, whether we had any questions.
I have been, and there is one question. Is this something we implement by sending the STR report?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
We kept hearing, now I want to be really clear about something, and just we always like to be really direct about what we are and what we're not. This trending data comes from us. The occupancy data comes from us. We're not using STR we're only using STR data for one thing, and that's the average daily rate. That's all we get from STR.
Well, that and the location of the hotels.
Oh,
and
yeah.
classification.
Right. So the way we set this up is we polygoned it. We geofenced every single STR reporting hotel in the US, a lot that don't report to STR. And so now we're able to see whether phones stay overnight in hotels and then multiply that by the daily rate. I'm not answering your question. We do all the STR setup. You don't have to pay STR a thing. You don't have to upload anything. It's you just we handle all the contracting with it, STR, and we handle all the setup.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also understand that this is not a replacement for STR.
Absolutely.
It's just another layer of intelligence on top of what you're already getting.
Yes.
All right. You ready for another question?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this an added feature? What does this cost to add? We have the insights on POI and trip.
Yeah, so let me be really clear. What I've showed today is lodging. This is the lodging. It is a standalone product. It's not included in your typical Arrivalist. I'll defer to Jason on pricing. But this is lodging. This is all from the lodging interface. This is a subset of our data, that subset of overnight stays, and this is divvied out by vacation rental hotel, or VFR. I also earlier today showed this, which is our points of interest insight portal. This is what I was using to illustrate primary destination versus secondary destination. This is also what we use to illustrate cross visitation from River City Sportsplex to Short Pump, right? So those are I defer to Jason on whether you want to how to answer.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't see who asked the question. So if I encourage anyone on this call who is a current client that is interested in adding this to their Arrivalist platform is to contact me directly. Because you already have some of our products, I can work with you on the pricing for this particular module.
And it's fun to have this project because for years, people would say, Creed, can you save money before we launch the campaign? Right? It's easy to let a campaign run 30 months and do attribution afterwards. But now finally, with some of these insights, we can save money before you spend any money on marketing. So it's a media planning tool. It's a long way of answering that. Great questions. Any more?
Is this available for any countries beyond the US?
Currently only in the US right now. I wish I could say yes to that, but no. There was a question earlier I saw come, and I don't know if it's still there. Can we measure visitation from Canada? And again, we like to be really clear about what we're not. And a lot of people just write us off as Arrivalist does not do international. That's not true. We only report, our number one goal is to give you the most defensible data available in the market. And if we don't have a critical mass of arrivals from Botswana or someplace, we're not going to list it. But we always have plenty of arrivals from Canada, from Mexico, from South America. Those are all supported. Those are all supported origin markets. And so, yes, we measure visits from a lot of visits from Canada and Mexico. And our clients at Brand USA have been using us to measure international visitation for 6 years now. So we do international. We just try to set expectations about what it is and what it isn't. Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions this time. Nothing in the chat, and the question you just answered. So I think that's it. Thank you so much, Cree and Jason, for your time today. We really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions for Jason or Cree, you can get back to them later, or if you want to send them to me, then we can forward them on.
Well, Kathy, can I tease our session at TTRA?
You certainly should.
Yeah, so we've been planning for months. We've been doing extra research above and beyond our data set, talking to academics and practitioners in keeping with TTRA. With TTRA's vision on the topic of VFR. Is it the silent majority of overnight stays? And what impact do those visitors have on our travel economy and our community? So this will be TTRA International. We'll be addressing this topic and using some of the data from Arrivalist lodging, but really pulling in other data from other research sources. And we're really super excited to see you at TTRA International. If you haven't registered, please do, because it's going to be a great show.
Thanks, Cree. That was a great commercial. I appreciate it.
Hey.
Believe in the product. Everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
It was a great commercial, really. Thank you. I was going to say something in the beginning and then I didn't. Sarah was going to do it and then her baby woke up early. So then I jumped on. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a big event, and all I said was true. And it was this. Look, I wonder if this was more about. It's going to be very informational. The TTRA presentation. So I'm really excited for that.
Good.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everybody else. Thank you, everyone who joined.
Bye-bye.